Hello, and welcome to a video for Grade 12 Essential Math on mortgages. This is the first of about 4 videos on mortgages because mortgages are quite complex and it's important to understand how to calculate them. So we're going to take a sort of a bite-sized approach to these. First off, there's a couple of things that you need to know, a couple of new terms. A mortgage is a loan that you take out for the purpose of purchasing property or real estate. Because it's usually a place that you live, it has slightly different rules than a normal loan, whether that's a car loan or a student loan or something like that. A little bit more strict in how you can apply for it and that sort of stuff. The principal is the amount that you borrow. With any loan or with any investment, the principal is your starting amount, how much you borrow at the beginning. Your down payment is how much you have saved up so that you don't have to borrow that amount. So if you have a house that you're wanting to purchase for $200,000 and you have $50,000 saved up, you'll need to borrow $150,000. So the $50,000 would be your down payment and the $150,000 would be your principal. Your amortization period is how long you're going to take to pay off your loan. This, for a mortgage, is usually about 25 years, sometimes a little bit less, sometimes a little bit more, depending on the exact circumstances. Your interest rate is how much you're paying the bank for the privilege of borrowing the money. A higher interest rate means you're paying more money to the bank. A lower interest rate means you're paying less. Now, your principal, you can calculate using this simple formula. You take the house price and you subtract the down payment. Now, this is true for any type of loan. When you're wanting to purchase a car or whether you're wanting to purchase a TV or anything like that, if you're taking out a loan, you take the price and you subtract how much you have saved up, figure out what you need to borrow. Your loan is also calculated using a cost per $1,000. When you're trying to find out the monthly mortgage payments and how much you're going to pay per month for this, you're going to look at a table something like this. You can notice that on the left-hand side, there's the interest rate. This is how much you're going to be paying to the bank. You can also see along the top, there's how many years it's going to take you to pay off. Things that you should note with this are the higher the interest rate, the more expensive it is, the more that you have to pay per $1,000 that you borrow. With the amortization period, the longer that is, the more years you take to pay it off, the less that you pay each month. That's all right, but you end up paying more in total, and we'll look at that a little bit later. So when you're calculating your monthly payment, notice that this chart gives you the cost per 1,000. A reminder, per 1,000 actually means divide by 1,000. The word per is a math word that means divide. So our monthly payment we can find by taking your principal times the cost from that chart divided by 1,000. Sometimes that cost per 1,000 will be given to you in the question. In fact, it's pretty rare that you'll need to actually read a chart like that. That's where the numbers come from. You can also use online tools or stuff to calculate your mortgage in real life, but we need to be able to calculate it by hand. So let's take a look at an example here. Here we have Adele who's buying a house. She's buying a house for $275,000 with $55,000 as a down payment. He gets a mortgage on what's left. Great. Couple of things that we can notice here. This is the house price. That's how much she paid for the house. She already has this much saved up. So how much does she need to borrow? Well, right away, we can go $275,000, subtract $55,000, and that ends up getting us $220,000. So this is how much she needs to borrow, or the principal. So with the principal here, that's how much we're going to use to start calculating her monthly payments. In the question, we stopped reading it there because that was enough information already. Let's keep going. He obtains a mortgage for the remaining amount. The amortization rate is $6.44 per 1,000. Those are the keywords there to look for, per 1,000. So we know this is our cost or our rate per thousand. And if we keep going, it says based on an interest rate of 4.75% for 20 years. When we're calculating the monthly mortgage payment, if you see this word monthly, we're going to ignore these numbers for now. These numbers here are only used to find this one, so we're ignoring them. If you see monthly mortgage payment, we're not going to use that percent. It's compounded interest, and that's a lot more complicated than we want to deal with right now. So I can take the principal, 220,000, times this rate per thousand, 6.44, and it's per thousand, which means divide it by 1,000. And that works out to $1,416.80. Double check that on your calculator. Also, make sure that you're rounding this correctly. This here needs 2 decimals. This is money, so make sure that you do put 2 decimals. It's dollars and cents. And also make sure to round it correctly. All right, let's take a look at the second part and see if we can figure this out. If we have Adele who pays $1,416.80 per month for this house, how much does she pay for the house after 20 years? So with this question, notice it says after the 20 years, how much did she pay in total? And this is important here, including the down payment. So let's start off with just this monthly payment. If she's paying $1,416.80 every month, how many times does she pay that? Well, this is for 20 years, right? So if I take that times, well, there's 12 months in a year, and she pays it for 20 years, well, that works out to $340,000 or $340,032. There we go. So this is how much paid in total for monthly payments. So that's how much she paid for her monthly payments in total. However, notice it says including the down payment. With any question, whether that's in a practice or whether that's on the exam, reading the question is more than half of the battle. Make sure to read it carefully, including the down payment. That tells us she paid that for monthly payments, but I need to add in $340,032. I need to add in my down payment here in order to figure out her total amount for this question. And that works out to $395,032. So there is the total amount paid for this house, including the down payment. One thing to notice, that's a pretty big number. $395,000 is almost $400,000. She paid $275,000 for her house. She paid a lot of extra for this house over these 20 years. That's not uncommon. This is a pretty reasonable amount and a pretty common number that you'll pay above the actual price of the house in interest because you're paying for a long time and it's compounding for a long time. So this has been a look at mortgages. I hope this has been helpful, and I'll see you in the next video.